Little bit of delay there, brother. How you doing, man?
Hey, pretty good, man. Hopefully the internet's better tonight for me. It seems like it has been so far. We've been sitting here kind of talking for 10 to 15 minutes, just talking about obviously that heartbreaking baseball game last night. Went into the ninth inning and obviously Mississippi State walked it off. But it wasn't because of lack of effort, definitely from the team, man. You go out there and you win 50 games. We were talking about how kind of baseball is kind of finicky like that, man. You can take a powerhouse Yankees team, you know, solid unit. And then all of a sudden, the worst team in baseball comes in and beats them, 3 games in New York. So I think baseball is kind of finicky like that. But and I think long seasons have a tendency to kind of separate those teams based on, obviously how many games you won and so on and so forth. But definitely heartbreaking loss, man. I'll let you kind of get into the who, the when, the what, and the where, the why. Sure.
Okay. Yeah. So like you said, you lost. You put yourself in a bad position when you lost game one. Of course, you have to win 4 games in 5 days, but they almost pulled it off, man. At a certain point late in the game yesterday, you had a lead. Weren't able to hold it again. You were going against Bednar and Sims again for Mississippi State, and they just made the plays and helped us when they needed to. Like you said, a heartbreaking loss, but a team that got 50 wins. If you look across the diamond, there's a lot of youth still there. You got a kid like Zach Zubia, who's played first base for us for seems like 6 years now. Who's going to probably go on and play in MLB. You got a kid like Mike Antico, who's a grad transfer from St. John's, who basically owned that leadoff spot in center field for the whole year. You're going to be missing him. But walking across the diamond, middle of the field, still going to be together, Mitch Daly and Trey Faltini. We'll see what Cam Williams decides to do. We kind of talked. I shot you a text last night after he hit that ball off Bednar, kind of jammed him, and he's sitting out in the seats. I'm like, this dude's going to make a lot of money between his potential at third base and the throws he's able to make. And then his bat sings. His dad's a former major leaguer. We'll see if he decides to go to major leagues. But at this point, walking across the outfield again, Dougie Hodo, kid from your neck of the woods in Bernie. Talked about Antigo a little bit. And then left field's kind of been that spot where it's been a revolving door. But again, you got Salas Ardoin as a freshman behind the plate coming back. So kind of saw the loss of Todd, saw the loss of Petrinski. DJ got unseated by Silas. So a lot of the seniors and experienced guys were on the bench this year, and you got nothing but youth to come back. We'll see what happens with Ty Madden. He's a top 10 pick. Tristan Stevens, we'll see what happens with him. Pete Hansen. And then you saw a guy like Tanner Witt could probably be brought back to the rotation. A guy like Cole Kittanini, you can stretch him out. So 3 arms for Friday, Saturday, and Sunday. If I was stacking them, would probably be a Tanner Witt, Cole Quintanilla, and either Tristan Stevens or Pete Hansen at this point.
Yeah.
I think Tristan Stevens also senior.
Yeah, you're kind of talking about that, man, but it was going to be Bednar Sims, and then it was going to be obviously Q at the end of that game, man. Between Q and Sims, who was going to give up a run to me, I didn't see neither one of those guys, those coaches pulling those guys out at that particular point in the game, man. And we just happened to, Quintana comes in and shut them down for multiple innings, man. It comes in at really a pivotal point with the bases loaded, no outs, I think, and he struck out the first guy and then got another one to pop out in the end of the inning. But that was definitely huge at that particular point. And but I don't think either one of those coaches were coming off either one of those pitchers last night. It was going to be the one that gives up the run last. But definitely from a pitching standpoint, you want 3 pitchers that are going to go Friday through Sunday. 3 top line pitchers, and I think we have them. I definitely think we have them on the roster. Yeah, you're losing some definite talent, probably to the major leagues or to the minor leagues, to some major league teams. But definitely some talent, man, back on the 40 acres next year. I think you had another thought, Jeremy, there.
I kind of talked about it on Twitter a little bit that if we could kind of get to Bednar early, I felt like they had unloaded their gun the night before with I think they made like 6 or 7 pitching changes and brought 6 or 7 guys out there. And I felt like if we could get to Bednar early, there was no true gap between him and Sims. But once you got to the 6th, like you said, you knew what you were going to face. And it was tough. Like his stuff coming out of the pen wasn't as good as it was last Sunday as far as the dive that he had on the slider or the top end fastball that he presented. But he was able to get guys out. And again, that team is a great baseball team, starting at the top with Jordan and Allen, and just timely hits, man. I thought we had them where we wanted them at certain points during the game, but like you said, baseball's one of those games where it can turn on a dime. You hit a batter, you walk a batter, a play's not made. And again, I'm not making excuses, but two hopper that jumps over Cam Williams' head, and then you're chasing the game again. So with not a chance to come back. So again, 50-win season, Big 12 conference champion, got it to the last three teams standing, and had a chance to again win 4 out of 5, which is unprecedented, to put themselves in that final series against Vanderbilt, and they unfortunately didn't get it done.
Yeah. On to some recruiting. Obviously the period's kind of coming upon us at this particular point. I think at 11:59 tonight, there's not going to be any other, face-to-face contact with any football players because of the dead period. I think they can still reach out to them by probably text message and telephone. But as far as doing face-to-face and all those things, those will stop tonight at 11:59. So I kind of wanted to run through a couple of battles that we have. I think after all these visits in June, which was probably a whirlwind tour for all these media guys that follow recruiting. I think sleepless nights and if people getting angry because there's not enough news coming out, or you read these message boards, hey, when we're going to hear some information. But I think some people do it right, man. Kind of leave these guys alone, man. These kids alone. Let them enjoy their officials, and then try to get some word after the fact. You don't want to be sending them text messages trying to call them while they're on official visit, and they're sitting in the office with Steve Sarkisian going over, or Pete Witkowski going over defensive schemes and offensive schemes. But coming out of really where we're standing at this particular point, and we're going to obviously name the big names, and then I want to kind of throw another guy out there that's supposed to be committing, I think, this week, that may be a big name going forward. So recruiting battles, we have Bryce Anderson, obviously one of the top safeties in the country. Currently, it seems like it's Texas and Texas A&M battle, man, and it kind of there's two guys, man, between him and Kelvin Banks that people are they're calling it, and they're just leaving it alone. They're saying, hey, I put in my bet, and I'm going to leave it there, man. But definitely Bryce Anderson is one of those guys we don't want to miss out on. I think he has some ties to the team. Obviously with Jaden Blue as a commit, and I think PJ Locke may be a cousin of his as well from obviously the Golden Triangle. Your thoughts, man, on this battle with Bryce Anderson?
Again, Bryce Anderson, Beaumont Westbrook safety. I've been on him. He's been one of my top 5 can't miss guys. I think he's a very versatile athlete. Again, talked about him. Played quarterback, a receiver, can play corner, can play safety. So you can slide him down to the nickel if you have to. Very versatile athlete. Kind of like him to Billy Bowman out of Denton Ryan out of last year's class. Just an explosive athlete that you put all over the field and watch him make plays. But yeah, like you said, I appreciate the fact that we got his last visit. Currently, his commitment date is July the 4th. There has been talks about him pushing that back. But again, I appreciate that we were the last guys that he came to see before the dead period. Hopefully we did enough. I hear he's staying from the moderators and the message boards that we watch. Sounds like he's going to have a pretty late evening. They're going to meet with Steve Sarkisian as late as 10 o'clock, and he's going to be heading back to Beaumont. But I can't, like I said, with Allen, the kid from Elite Art in the classes of safety, talking to the likes of Brooks, Harris, and then who's on campus with him now, Jalen Gilbo, out of Port Arthur. It'd be great to have. It would truly make this class, if you could get 4 out of those 5 guys, truly DBU, looking forward. Because, like I said, he's a phenomenal athlete, and I really appreciate his work.
Yeah, that obviously that if you go back and look at obviously probably you're talking about defensive backs, you're talking about recruiting classes, you're probably going back to look at that 2018 class. You just kind of hope those guys develop, wind up developing, the way that they when they came out of high school. I think you had one of the top 3 corner, like top 10 cornerbacks in the nation, and then 3 of the top safeties in DeVarmian Overshone and Caden Stearns and BJ Foster. That this defensive back class could probably mirror that one. It just comes down to development and getting these guys ready for the NFL, man. And then obviously Kelvin Banks is kind of reverse of Bryce Anderson. He spent some time last week at Texas on a visit, and then it was at Texas A&M this week, man. To me, when you're talking about a left tackle, man, Kelvin Banks is that guy. Kelvin Banks is that left tackle that you want, man. And with the size and brute force that he brings each and every play, man, if you go watch this video, those are the guys that Kyle Flood are looking at, man. And it's one of those things that's they have the last say on this one. I think he wants to shut it down early. Right now, I think if I was to if I was a betting man, I'd probably just flip a coin and one. I really couldn't tell you where he's going to go. That's kind of where Kelvin Banks is at this particular point. Your thoughts on Kelvin Banks?
No, and somebody sent us an instant message last night on a direct message asking us what our opinions were, and they may be in here, asking us what our opinion was on Kelvin Banks. And unlike Bryce Anderson, what makes me feel uncomfortable about this recruiting is not having that last word, not having that last visit. Again, this kid out of Summer Creek High School, who, again, like you just described, is that tackle, that prototypical tackle, huge, that can move his feet, can maul in the run game, and like you said, get back and pass block with the best of his tape is phenomenal. Feel a little bit uneasy about this one. Again, just because we didn't get that last visit. And again, I don't know why these kids would stack, in specific, what their plans are. We know that Bryce Anderson had a 7-on-7 tournament that he played in College Station. He left directly from there as soon as his team got eliminated and came to Austin. Don't know why, these guys stack their visits in sequential order the way they do. But that's why that one makes me feel a little uneasy, to be honest with you.
Next guy is Devin Campbell out of Arlington Bowie, another guy that's going to visit this week. I think he was supposed to take an unofficial visit. He may have just was going to stay on Saturday, decided he was going to stay into Sunday. Obviously, it was an unofficial visit. I think he wants to take official visits during the fall, which make this one going to probably go all the way until probably December, early signing day for Devin Campbell. To me, this guy is again like a Kelvin Banks or a Denver Harris. These guys are can't miss guys, top 25 guys according to the 247 composite. Again, another baller, man. You go watch his film. He's second level, third level guy. He plays 7-on-7. He plays 7-on-7 football. Doing the circuit. Obviously during the spring, but kind of at this particular point, I think this is a Texas-Oklahoma battle. Obviously, they've generated some really good offensive linemen up there in Oklahoma. Put some guys in NFL draft. I know he went up there for their barbecue. The previous weekend to this one. So I think this is going to be a Texas-Oklahoma battle until the end. And as you see, man, this is the way this is going to happen from this particular point on. I mean, if you want to fight for these 5 stars, you're going to have to go against the likes of the team out east, the team up north, and one we're about to talk about. This won multiple national championships over the last couple of years. Your thoughts on Devin Campbell?
Love Devin Campbell. Again, part of my top 5 can't miss guys. Like you talked about, he plays 7-on-7 as a receiver, tight end. He can also dunk a basketball, very athletic, interior player, strong, puts his hands on you, gets you down the ground. Again, another can't miss, but again, I like the fact that there was questions, even late in the week, was he going to make it to campus? He found a way to get to campus, and like you said, he extended his stay into the day, so I feel really good about Devin Campbell. He looks really, really good in those icy whites. So another can't miss prospect. You get the last visit before the dead period. I think he may be a guy who may drag it out a bit longer. I know he said he has intentions on taking an official visit back to the school in the fall. So we'll see with Devin Campbell, but just another guy you'd like to have in the program. On him, I'm probably 70-30 Texas. It would be Kelvin Banks. I have no idea. Bryce Anderson, I'm more 75-25 Texas. And then I may come back to eat my words, but I feel really good about Devin Campbell.
All right. Yeah, I'm kind of the same way with you, man. I think he feel like he's been a Texas lean this entire time. And I think a lot of these guys may want to see how the season goes, and that's kind of where you're at, man. After you've had seasons the way they've gone for the last 10 years where you haven't played for but one Big 12 championship, in the last couple of years and really just a Power 5, New Year's, one New Year's Eve bowl or whatever the case may be over the last couple of years. These guys want to see, obviously success on the field. It's funny because I asked Jeremy a question. He's not going to answer this question today. It's something I think we're going to probably kind of when it comes to, I think I'd like to have a video on really quarterback recruiting moving forward, because I listen to a lot of people, do videos on YouTube and they'll talk about, Quinn Ewers to Ohio State play for Ryan Day. And then obviously you got Jimbo Fisher out east at Texas A&M and Lincoln Riley there in Oklahoma. And now you got, one of the best play callers and quarterback guys there in Texas as your head coach, Steve Sarkisian. And I asked Jeremy a question. I said, if you had Lincoln Riley in front of you, Jimbo Fisher, and you had, this is maybe something y'all want to answer that y'all want to answer in the chat. If you had Lincoln Riley, Jimbo Fisher, and then you had Steve Sarkisian and who was my fourth one?
Ryan Day's your last.
Ryan Day up at Ohio State, and you have four quarterbacks that were there, and then they had the first pick. Ranked 1 through 4. Where would number 1 go? Where would number 2 go? Where would number 3 go? Or where would number 4 go? And Jeremy asked that question. It's not one we're going to answer today because I think I'd like to do a recruiting video just specifically on quarterbacks and quarterback development and obviously play calling. Is it more about the quarterback? Is it more about being developed as a quarterback? Is it more about championships? Because if you're looking at a video that I listened to today, Ryan Day, if you go back and look at it, I'm not sure how many quarterbacks he's developed over the last couple of years. But you have a quarterback who wants to go up there and win championships, wants to have an opportunity to play for championships. So is it more about development or is it more about winning championships? So that's probably a video or a podcast that me and Jeremy will probably have come out as it gets closer to football season. But y'all thoughts on that, man? Getting to this defensive side of the ball, Denver Harris, man. Can't miss. Probably one of the top cornerback prospects that's come out of the state of Texas in a long time, man. This one is going to be a battle between Texas and Alabama. I think these are the only two guys at this particular point that really have a play in the game at this particular point. It's hard to beat a guy like Nick Saban, who's got defensive backs all across the NFL and guys he's developed there at Alabama. Your thoughts on Denver Harris, Jeremy?
Again, this is a guy 50-50, just like you said, and it's because of Nick Saban and their chance to win national championships at this current point. But I will say I did hop on Instagram Live with Jalen Gilbo and Bryce Anderson yesterday, and while I was in there, no one other than Devo Bands hops in there. Denver Harris pops in to their actual Instagram Live, and so I acknowledged him. It's like Denver's in the room. He acknowledged with a comment. But so it's interesting to see that while he was on his recruiting trip to Alabama, he popped on the Instagram Live with the likes of Jalen Gilbo and Bryce Anderson. Like you described him, he's big, physical corner. Like you said, one of the best that's come out of the state in a long time, top 10 athlete in the country. Can't miss. But again, I have no tail. We do know that he attended the Texas spring game. We were there. We know he was there. So he has been around the program. We do know that he intends to take an official visit at some point during the season or visit the school during the season. But right now, like you said, with that juggernaut in Alabama, they got the last visit before the dead period. He was there this weekend. We got to host him last weekend. So another kid, I don't feel either way solid. So I'm 50-50 right down the middle with Denver Harris at this point.
Yeah, again, this one's going to, you're talking about 5-star guys, man, top 10 guys that are in the composite, 247 composite. It's very rare that they're going to pull the trigger this early and commit to a school. I think he said that once he makes his commitment, he's a quiet guy too. He doesn't talk to media very much either. Mm-hmm. So he's going to put a lot of information out. But I think he's one of those guys, when he commits to the school, he definitely wants to stay with that school. He's not going to look to try to decommit from somewhere. So he'd rather just wait until he's sure to be able to pull the trigger. What are your thoughts, Sherman?
Yeah, exactly. You got two trains of thought, I think, with kids these days. Is there a summertime commitment that wants to focus on their football season for their high school? And then you got the guys that deserve, and all of them deserve the opportunity to wait till the last minute and see how Texas plays in the months of September, October, November before they sign their name to a piece of paper in December. So I'm in both camps. If you want to shut it, if you're committed and you know you're going to that school for their education, you know you're going to that school for their scheme, you know you're going to that school for their coaching staff and their ability to develop, and you think you know that in the summer, then by all means, pull the trigger and turn all the other teams off. Let them know respectfully, hey, I'm done. But at the same time, I can definitely understand a kid's idea of, hey, I want to see how they perform in September, October, November, because again, Texas defensive players will tell you they played for 3 defensive coordinators in the last 3 years. So, and we know that PK is going to be here for a while under Steve Sarkisian. Not saying that he's going to move, but at the same time, these kids deserve an opportunity to see what the scheme truly looks like in the fall before they pull the trigger.
Yeah, I can tell you, it's funny because I was reading a story about Pete Kwiatkowski today, man. 35 years up there on the Northwest. He's playing for Boise State in the 80s. And he never left from up there. So that's something to me you sell to a parent. That, hey, I know what loyalty looks like, man. I would literally up in the Northwest, man, at either Boise, Washington, Boise State, Washington, West, some other schools. I think Montana State was one of those schools, but it was all up there in the Northwest. And he stayed up there for 35 years. I'm not worried about Pete Wiskowski leaving Sarkisian at any particular point, taking a head coaching job.
Right.
Or go take another defensive coordinator position, man. This is his last run. And that's what I'm most excited about. A dude that was there, I know you want to say something, that was there, that he probably could have stayed and retired up there in the Northwest forever, but he wanted to come to the Big 12 where these offenses are prolific and try his hand at it, man. And that's what makes me really, really excited, man. You had a thought, too. No, it was about to come out.
No. Yeah, system and athletes, right? So I want to see Pete Wiskowski not being disrespectful to Washington, the kind of athletes, because they've had draft picks, and we've talked about their defensive draft picks, from Buda Baker to all the defensive linemen that they've been able to put in the NFL. So I'm not saying that we have better athletes here in the state of Texas, but I am, because look at it across the board. California, Texas, Florida generally puts more folks in the NFL than the state of Washington. I want to see his system with these type of athletes. That's kind of where I was going is, hey, you see what he can do in Washington. Let's see what he can bring to the University of Texas and have the guys like Denver Harris be able to see that, Bryce Anderson be able to see that, Justice Finkley, another name that came up in the comments, let them see that. Because I spent a lot of time today watching a lot of Arch Manning film and a lot of Justice Finkley film. It's the last two guys that I watched. But it's been a whole day kind of watching film of the 22 class and then kind of migrated into 23 as we hear more about, there's a board in Georgia that said Arch, the team to beat for Arch was still Texas. So I went back and watched more of his film today. He can make all the throws that Quinn Ewers can make. Maybe doesn't have the arm speed that Quinn Ewers has, but he can make all those throws.
Yeah, I think talking about Washington, kind of finish out this whole Washington thought. I think they had 3 guys that were on the preseason All-American team. 3 guys, man, from Washington. So they know how to develop talent out there, man. If you go back and look at those teams, man, that were playing for college football playoffs, hell, even the teams that weren't, man, just sitting out there winning games at Washington. It seems like they have multiple guys going into the NFL each and every year. That's being able to figure out what guys play well in your scheme, what guys you're able to develop to get to the next level. But it's also being able to coach these guys up, man. And I think that is absolutely important. And I think this is what this coaching staff has that Texas has not had in 10, 12, 13, 14 years, man.
You got coaches that have experience taking 2- and 3-star players to 5-star caliber by the time they're done. So that's why I don't really worry when people get on here and they're talking about, we wasted a scholarship on a 3-star. Well, understand that those guys who are now coaching at this university have the potential to make those 3 stars first-round draft picks, and they've shown it before in other places. So, like you said, yeah, it's great to get the 4 and 5 stars and the guys we're talking about whenever you can. But if there's a guy you feel like is and I trust PK and I trust Jeff Choate to do that analysis and say, hey, recruiting services only have him as a 3, but I believe when he walks on campus he's a 4 and 5. Or if he's not, I can get him there.
Absolutely.
So that's kind of coach potential you're talking about.
So let's finish out this list real quick. You have Evan Stewart, man. Evan Stewart is a guy that is come me, and I've said this for about 3 or 4 months now, is going to be the number 1 wide receiver when the last composite comes out according to 247 at the end of the year. I have no doubt. I think Rivals. I went to a Rival site the other day, and I think they're sitting here and they figured it out after their Rivals 50 and all these other camps that he does, and where he's unstoppable and he's unguardable. He will be the number 1 wide receiver at the end of this recruiting at the end of 2021 in the cycle. So Texas Florida battle here. I think Texas Florida. I think he's one of those guys, these rare guys that committed to Texas or commits and then we'll come back to the same school. It's very rare that ever happens. You know what I'm saying? A guy decommits from your school. There's a reason they decommit. And then they, come back. There's sometimes where, if you look at Ruben Owens, I don't want to go get too much into that, but Ruben Owens is committing like 2 years out. There's always a chance that Ruben Owens is going to come back, especially if we think Bijan has the year that he has. Running backs we lined up to come play at the University of Texas for Stan Drayton and Steve Sarkisian. But I think Evan Stewart, man, is a Texas-Florida battle at this particular point. You disagree on that one? You think anybody else in the running for him at this particular point?
No. Again, Evan's one of those guys that's hard to figure out. But again, we understand the relationship that he has with Florida. We understand that his 7-on-7 quarterback in Flower Mound, quarterback Nick Evers is committed to play at Florida. That's the connection there. But but I agree like you. I think from what we understand, last week's visit was very, very good for Evan Stewart. He knows that he's a priority for this coaching staff. Again, I think he's going to be one of those guys who is a all-star game commit. I may be wrong. He may commit sometime during the season, maybe even this summer. But I think he's one of those guys that wants to see how Steve Sarkisian looks with Joshua Moore, with Xavier Worthy, with Jordan Whittington, and see how the guys that are comparable to him, how many balls they catch, how many explosive plays they have, and how he uses them. But yeah, Evan Stewart's, like you said, another can't miss guy. Probably going to be a top 20 talent by the time this whole thing is said and done. And I just think he's going to have to take a look at what Steve Sarkisian can do for him as a player going forward. Again, he's, and Stark can sell him. Hey, I got Devontae Smith, who was probably the third best receiver on my team when I got him to a Heisman Trophy. So he was drafted behind Jalen Waddle. So, but walked off with the hardware last year. So I think Steve can sell him on that. He's just going to have to see it.
I know this is not on our notes. Me and Jeremy are trying to stay on script tonight. We're going to try the notes thing tonight, so we're not all over the place. And this one's not on there. Biggest name coming out of I would say this last month that I did not expect to be one of the top, I would say top 3 schools were probably Harold Perkins. You agree with that?
Agreed.
Agree.
The move we were able to make with Harold Perkins is a big deal. Just right off the cuff, I think definitely he's the most impact player that, like you said, we didn't think we had a chance to get on campus, which we did, and then to sell him as an idea. And you talked about the article, and I think the last slide that we did about how Texas wants to use him is exactly how he wants to be used, and he definitely could see himself playing at this university when you really didn't think we had an opportunity when the month of June began and business opened back up.
Yeah, definitely. I think that's definitely probably the biggest one that I didn't see us making an impact with is definitely making an impact. Going to those 3-star guys, man, we were talking about 3 stars, turning 3 stars into 4 stars, 5 stars. We had a guy on campus I'm really, really excited about, and I think he's going to make a commitment. I think July 1st, I think is a set date. I think Thursday. Cameron Williams, man, 4-star, I think, according to ESPN, 3-star according to I think the composite, 6'5", 360 pounds, man. And we go back to we did a podcast earlier, I think, on really the offense and what Kyle Flood's looking like, or I don't remember what the video was about, but we had talked about Kyle Flood and the size of the offensive line guys that he was using at Alabama. And I think we went down some averages, like who had the largest average offensive line, and then Texas was somewhere down there, I think 20 pounds shy of where Alabama was. And so that's one of those guys that Kyle Flood's looking at. If you want to go look at someone that's similar to Cameron Williams, go look at Deontay Brown, played guard, 6'4", 350 pounds for Alabama this year. Actually at around about the same spot composite-wise where Cameron Williams currently sits at now. So I think we really have a good shot at him. It's nice to have the last visit. Again, we talked about these last visits. It's nice to have that last visit, have him on campus prior to him making his commitment on Thursday, man. But really, really excited. Hopefully we can pull him. And if anybody knows any inside information on the board, if they kind of see where we're at, hey, put it there, man. And then we got Canndonator up there, all gas, no brakes. That's my nephew there. He's down in Mexico. He visits every once in a while. He was actually living with me for about a month or 2 and decided he wanted to go back to Mexico. But hey, we appreciate the $1.99 there, man. Jeremy, that's going to go towards those fries, man, that Jeremy has that needs to buy from Whataburger. Your thoughts on Cameron Williams? And it's this.
Yeah, the reason why we did it is because we were talking about Kyle Flood versus Herb Hand and the kind of athletes that Herb Hand was recruiting to the University of Texas was undersized guys with mobility, and then they bring them into the weight room, and Yancey McKnight would try to put weight on them and get them up to the playing weight that we felt like Ohio State, Alabama, and Clemson already had. So basically what we did was took our top 10 linemen, I think, and did the height weight combo and found that Texas was like number 3 behind Clemson and Alabama as far as girth on the offensive line. But he's brought that business model and that athlete profile to Texas. What excites me about Cameron Williams, and I see Lando's talking about him going to OU, which is a possibility, and that's who you kind of said we were in competition with, is the Blackshires and the Aubers and the Thompsons. And Duncanville High School is a fertile ground for great athletes. We understand that, being from DeSoto, they're right across the highway from us. Getting back into Duncanville, getting back into DeSoto, getting back into Cedar Hill would be a big deal. So if we can get an athlete, like you said, a Cameron Williams, who profiles just like Kyle Flood wants his athletes to look like in that interior line to the university, and also open the doors to Duncanville High School back up, that'd be really, really great. To have a kid from Duncanville come to Texas to visit is one of those things that's exciting for me, because from what we've heard, Amari Auburn is not gonna make that trip. So we'll see. But again, Amari Auburn is probably one of those guys who's going to be a December time commit at an All-Star game in January, February. We'll see, and we'll see what Texas progression and performance looks like in the fall to kind of get a kid like that as well. But happy to see Cam Williams, 6'5", 360 pounds, like we talked about. He profiles just like Alabama's, guard Deontay Brown. So just a road grader, and just happy to see him in those icy whites.
Any of the topics you want to talk about recruiting before we move on to talk a little fall camp?
No, you asked the guys to get a little interactive earlier with who they feel like the coach that a quarterback would like to go to, and you stacked them. You said Lincoln Riley, Steve Sarkisian, Ryan Day, and Jimbo Fisher. Like you said, you asked me before, and I'm not going to give my stuff away, but please give us your rack and stack, guys. Let us know who you would send. If you had a kid who was a senior quarterback and you wanted to send him to a coach, who would you send him to, 1 through 4? And then also something we did a little bit last year that I would like to do tonight is, hey, just check in with a hook 'em and let us know where you're listening from. If you're out of state, if you're for the Dallas Metroplex, from like Clint said, the Golden Triangle region, from San Antonio, from Houston, we'd like to know where our audience is from, especially if you're first time here. Let us know it's your first time listening to our show, and let us know where you're checking in from.
Absolutely, man. Shameless plug real quick, man. If there's, I think, 57 people currently watching. We're getting close to the ball, man. I think we're 69 days out from football. And we'll be putting some information out here shortly before we get off here about some other opportunities we're going to have, and we'll be able to we'll have some podcasts and so on and so forth during the season as well. So I just want to get really quick to this Victor Santiago. It's when Texas is starting to lose recruit battle at SMU. Shake my head. We're actually from the Dallas area, and I can tell you that I think SMU has always been an opportunity, man. They're a damn good school. They're a private school there in the Dallas area. They're in the heart, right smack dead in the middle of downtown Dallas. Just like you try to sell Austin to kids in the university to kids because of the city of Austin. You're right smack down in the middle of Dallas. And again, if you have an opportunity to drive up 35, 20 miles for your family to go see you play football, there may be a chance that some of these guys want to play there in the Dallas area, regardless if they're a 3, 4, 5-star. And again, the samples, they are, they've been around high school football in the Dallas area for damn near 50 years, at multiple schools, Skyline, Duncanville. And now you got, samples at SMU that they can talk to these kids and has a dad that's coaching them all the time. It's easy for them to feel comfortable want to go there. Your thoughts on that? I don't think just because they go there, you're losing a head-to-head to them. Go ahead.
And I'm not gonna. I was in one of the mod spots, and I was telling you that when you talk about James Prochet, who's from DeSoto, and you talk about Cole Beasley, and you talk about the article basically was written that SMU had produced more wide receivers to the NFL than Texas had in the last 10 years. I don't know when it went back, but it's basically stacking their guys. And we had Shipley on the list, we had Goodwin on the list, we had Colin Johnson on the list. But it basically what it was saying was SMU had produced more NFL wide receivers in the last 10 years than Texas had. So yeah, again, it's just one of those things where in certain position groups, like offensive line, like receiver, you're going to be able to negatively recruit Texas for their lack of putting guys in the programs. I don't think you're going to have that problem with this coaching staff. We talked about that a little bit earlier, how they had the potential to take a 3-star talent and make them a first or second day pick. But again, kids are going to have to see that. And I really appreciate JRJ, his feedback. JRJ 151 and 1 to 4 in terms of development. You racked them and stacked them exactly how I did. I'm not going to tell you why I did it that way, but Lincoln Riley, Steve Sarkisian, Ryan Day, and Jimbo Fisher was his 1 through 4. And that was exactly what I told Clint was mine. And then, like you said, we're going to do another show and tell you exactly why we feel that way. But thanks for the feedback. And then we got guys coming from Georgia, Wisconsin,
Minerva, Texas, Wisconsin.
Never even heard of Minerva. Tell us where Minerva's at. Love it. Hill Country next to me, and then from Houston through Austin. So yeah, guys from all
White
over
House
checking in.
Got one White House, man. Mahomes. Yeah, there. We like doing that, man. I tell you what's cool about it is because I think we need to get back to that because you got to think about how me and Jeremy really started. Obviously, I've been out of the Army I think for 2 years now. I've retired. Retired from the Army about 2 years ago. But this is the way that we got our information was from YouTube. And I think it's really cool to especially if you're in places like Germany or places like Korea, where you're on different time. Really on time. Time difference is crazy. I just jump on YouTube and listen to, Fanatic Perspective or hell, RJ Young or some of these guys, man, to try to figure out, because RJ Young was the one who was feeding a lot of Texas information at that particular point, and that's where we got all of our information, good, bad, or indifferent, and it's really cool to that Jeremy, that we need to get in the habit of doing that and trying to find out where these guys are coming from. And I think it's really, really cool. Lost my train of thought, man. I got really excited about the locations which these guys come from.
No.
Yeah.
It is cool for us.
But going back to the DFW area again, me and Jeremy barely know that area pretty well, especially the Duncanville, DeSoto, Cedar Hill, those areas. We know it pretty well. That's where we kind of grew up at. So more to follow on that, man. We're trying to actually, we were actually invited to DeSoto's, spring game. They invited us, but unfortunately it was like on a Thursday, and me and Jeremy worked full time. We couldn't make it up there. But those are the things we're planning on doing next spring. Now that we kind of know how the 7-on-7 stuff works, the spring games work, and so on and so forth, just we can get some inside information. Let's get to talking a little fall football, man. Let's talk fall.
Okay.
Breakout player, offense, defense for fall camp.
For me,
Yeah,
you want to do one side of the ball at a time?
Yeah, let's do offense first, and then we'll do defense.
All right, Troy O'Meara for me.
Yeah,
Troy O'Meara for me again. 6'3", 220-pound receiver. Brings a little different skill set to the offense. Got a chance to see him play a little bit in the spring game. Can definitely see his potential to get open. It's not hard for him. If the quarterbacks can find him, again, I think he's a matchup nightmare for defensive backs in the Big 12. 6'3", 230 pounds. Take advantage of that size and that height and that speed combination to make plays. Again, we saw it in summer last year. His ability to separate and make plays on the ball. Great set of hands. Troy O'Meara for me.
Man, we got somebody, Lynn Sheehan, in here from Guadalajara, Mexico, listening to us.
Nice.
That's cool, Lynn.
Very
my wife
cool.
is my wife is born and raised in Guadalajara, Mexico. So that's really, really cool. I'll tell her tonight that we had somebody in from Guadalajara, Mexico. That's really, really cool. So offense side of the ball for me, obviously you got Bijan Robinson's going to be running the ball out of the backfield. You probably have some really talented wide receivers on the outside. I think the biggest playmaker that probably makes the biggest difference with our offense this year, it's going to be Jared Wiley, no doubt. You're talking about a guy that can kill the seams, man, go up the seams. 6'5", 6'6", hell 6'7", whatever he is at this particular point. I think the matchup that Tom Herman failed to do last year against some of these Big 12 defenses, I think Steve Sarkisian is going to take advantage of it this year. So my guy, breakout player coming out of the fall, and these may change, man, after the fall, as we get closer to the season, after fall camp. This is just going into fall camp, who we think is going to have the biggest impact into fall camp. May change after fall camp, but I'm going to go definitely Jared Wiley, man. I think he's going to make a big difference this year. Absolutely. Your thoughts on Jared Wiley? Got anything on him?
No, I did. I wrote Malcolm Epps and Jared Wiley because in the second week of October, we talked about the diminutive defensive backs that play for Oklahoma and how we felt like that Epps and Wiley in a two tight end set with Colin Johnson at the time could really take advantage of Oklahoma's defensive backs. And like you said, we didn't utilize that like we should. Again, he's a weapon. He made explosive plays last year, caught the ball in the middle, I think. I don't remember specifically against who. I want to say it was against Texas Tech for a 50-yard gain. But yeah, coming out of Temple High School, converted quarterback, Jared Wiley is a weapon. Going to the defensive side of the ball, and I see you, James S. Clint can tell you, Brendan Schooler was my breakout defensive player. Again, we got to see him in the spring game playing safety. He was an all Pac-12, defensive back at Oregon his freshman year. So I think that's where I wanted to see him. I felt like he could make most impact last year on the defensive side of the ball. Tom Herman and his crew decided to play him at receiver. I think he's back to where he's best. Again, his brother's a linebacker for Texas Tech and an all Big 12 player last year. I think Brendan Schooler can make a big impact in the secondary for Texas.
All right, went with Brendan Schooler. I'm going to go Anthony Cook, man, from that 2018 defensive back class. I just think that Anthony Cook had to find his way at the University of Texas. I think he has. I think he's uber talented. I think he doesn't mind coming downhill and tackling football players. I don't think he has a problem with coverage. I think he just needed to be put in the right scheme, and I think this scheme is going to allow him to meet his potential. And I think you'll see, for me, the biggest probably defensive guy coming out of fall camp is probably going to be Anthony Cook. Obviously, there's a couple of guys back there he's going to be, trying to beat out for playing time for that nickel or star or whatever they call it position. Chris Adamora, maybe a Josh Thompson, depending on what they do with Darian Dunn. There's a lot of moving parts around there. We'll get to that probably here in a couple of weeks, talking about the defense and how the two deep is going to work and scheme and so on and so forth. But I think to me, Anthony Cook coming out of the fall, I think is going to be one of your guys to look out for as well. He just shows up sometimes in games when you least expect it, man. He's done it a couple of times in Oklahoma game a couple of years back. He's right there, and I think he's on the cusp of doing wonderful things. I really do. I see something big from him. So, see, James S. said Cook question mark. He completely forgot about Cook. He's on forgotten. Like he's a forgotten guy. Go ahead, Jeremy.
He's going to compete with Chris Adamore, Keaton Crawford, and those top guys for playing time. But like you said, he's experienced. He's from that 18 class that pretty much now just has Overshown and himself left. No, I take that back. You got Jameson. But Jalen Green's moved on. Caden Stearns has moved on. A guy that probably could have talked about at the safety position, because I did bring up Brendan Schooler, was B.J. Foster. Well, like you said, as we get closer and we start talking about two deep and the depth charts and position battles and previews, that's a name that we'll bring up and we'll talk about is B.J. Foster, because you didn't get a chance to see him a lot in the spring game. And Jerry Thompson is a part of that two deep for me. Lando just popped in. It's my two starting safeties are Jaron Thompson and Brendan Schooler, and I'll talk about got sidetracked there for a second. But Jaron Thompson, Brendan Schooler will be my starters, and BJ Foster will be my guy in reserve.
Yeah, Jaron Thompson, man. Obviously, he was he started breaking out last year with a couple of interceptions. You know what I'm saying? Collins, with a one-handed interception in Colorado. To me, I was looking for guys that either were let me put it this way, underutilized or forgotten about. That's kind of the way I went with this. And to me, if Jared Wiley is just a matchup nightmare for he's a guy that you can see in the NFL that goes out and he is really, really, really good for a long time in the NFL. That's where I see Jared Wiley at. And then I wanted to go really unforgotten, and to me is Anthony Cook. People forget about that guy. He entered the transfer portal and came back out. And again, he's one of those guys that make plays here and every once in a while. But I think if he leads, if he gets to where he wants to go, I think it's going to be really good, man. Because you think about it, him and Jameson were kind of neck to neck coming out in that 2018 class when you're looking at cornerbacks, depending on what composite or what recruiting service you were looking at. But really, really excited, man. Foster needs moving to the box. Me and Jeremy talked about that a lot too. But again, they took, Chris Ash came in. I think they took some weight off of him. I think he actually lost 15 pounds. We thought they were going to put weight on him and bring him down like they did Marvin Overshown, because I could see him doing that role as well. But just wanted to get back to talking regularly. We talk recruiting a lot, man, and I wanted to make sure that me and Jeremy had something in the script today that talked about, what the football team is moving forward. I know that right now they're obviously in summer conditioning. That'll probably happen for the next couple of weeks, and then once you'll start getting into fall camp and things will get really, really exciting. And before you know it, we're 69 days out from college, from a game. So.
No, I got tripped up there for a second because I saw my name in the chat because Mike was talking about I need a microphone. Well, I got one, brother. all the time. We're definitely tweaking, trying to make quality. Again, sometimes it's internet, sometimes it's sound quality. But yeah, we definitely have microphones, or I have a microphone. It's just sometimes don't know why the echo is the way it is sometimes, but we try to tweak those things and improve those things as show to show. As we get larger and develop, maybe we'll invest in some more expensive microphones or some filters or something like that. Don't really know much about the production side, but I did want to show you that I do have a microphone, and apologize for whatever echo you might be hearing.
Somebody brought up the fact that Wiley needs to work on his blocking. I think that's something they've worked on the last couple of really years. Now you got a guy in there like Banks, man, that's been working with tight ends for a long time. It's not, again, yes, that's one part of what a tight end needs to do is be able to block in the blocking game. But I think you can scheme. I think Steve Sarkisian's smart enough to be able to scheme these tight ends open, two tight end sets. One has to worry about blocking, the other one goes on a route or whatever the case may be. And you'll probably see a lot of two tight end sets, man. It wouldn't surprise me if you didn't see a lot of two running back sets this year, because I think that's currently where our offensive line works the best, man, is run blocking. Go ahead, Jeremy.
Yeah, no, so you understand, Jeffrey, that he was a freshman, number one, and two, like I said a little bit earlier, he wasn't converted quarterback. Like, he didn't have his hand on the ground a lot at Temple High School. He was playing in as a quarterback. So again, there's room for growth there. We definitely see that because, like you said, and I think Jeffrey's alluding to it. When you see Wiley on the field, and you kind of talked about it, when you see Wiley on the field, you don't want for the defense to assume it's automatically a pass play. That he is out there to in run situations and can and knock people down to the ground or hold up against defensive ends or outside linebackers. So definitely, and I think Torrey Beckton will have a big say in that. I think the conditioning program at Texas, strength and conditioning program at Texas, will help him overcome some of his shortcomings. Beginning as a freshman, didn't have a whole lot of time on the line of scrimmage at Temple to be able to learn those things. But I think Herb Hand, and he kind of got one of the best tight ends / special teams coaches in the country in Jeff Banks. So if somebody can help him out, I trust him, Jeff Banks, and Herb Hand for those blocking techniques that he'll have to learn to be more diversified.
Yeah, I'm just kind of going through, man, that it's funny because you're kind of go back to recruiting real quick. They had that barbecue at Oklahoma last week where they had like 10 or 15 vehicles on the field. I guess a whole bunch of, high dollar rental vehicles, whatever the case may be. And then you look at on Twitter and everybody's kind of going in on it right now at this particular point, talking about Thorpe Awards and talking about that Rolls Royce that obviously Bryce Anderson and Jalen Gilbo are standing next to. And somebody retweeted it out, man. I was like, that tweet is fire, man. But it's going crazy right now. That tweet is going crazy. And it's true, man. You can either you have it or you don't have it. You know what I'm saying? Is it real or is it not real? And it goes back to someone talking about why would people like Harris or Brooks or Gilbo, or you keep naming them over and over and over again, go to the University of Texas to want to play defensive back. And this is from a school that has no Thorpe winners. Or if you got to go back like 10 years to see if a defensive back was recruited in the NFL, or was obviously developed to go to the NFL. It's weird. It's a weird dynamic, man. So I think sometimes these teams hype themselves up so much to a point where they start believing things that actually aren't true. You know what I'm saying? You haven't won you haven't won. I think 2039. Everybody can wait. I think that'll be the centennial of Texas A&M's last national championship. Wait, like 1939. So, those things irritate the hell out of me. It's funny because I tell Jeremy all the time. I kind of hop over there to their board, because you can see their board, just kind of get insight of what their guys are thinking about, what these recruits are thinking about, because I want to see the insight from both sides, man. But sometimes it becomes delirium. You know what I'm saying? It's like, what are they smoking or what are they drinking to prop themselves up when they haven't really done anything ever in life? It's weird. Another thing I want to cover real quick is it's the whole T-SIP thing, right? Let's talk about this, right? Me and Jeremy are not graduates of the University of Texas at all, right? So we're considered T-shirt fans, and it's okay if you call me a T-shirt fan. But what you will not do is call me a T-SIP. You know what I'm saying? And then so I'll go back there and ask these guys, so when did you call it? Because they call everybody T-SIPs, and I get it and I understand why they do it. And it's around for a long time. But at the same time, I go back and say, did you serve your country? You know what I'm saying? I served 22 years. Did you serve your country? And then things get really mute. It gets really, really quiet, and they fall off the face of the earth. It's really weird, man, how that kind of works itself out. But been really excited over the last month, man. And I think it's because of this whole recruiting situation is back, which is really, really good for college football. So just Clint's 2 cents, man, there for about 5 minutes.
Yeah, you got on your soapbox, and I do appreciate it though, because again, you got to go back to championships, and a lot of it got brought up here in baseball. That you hang your hat on a conference and not your own accomplishments. Because again, Texas had more wins this week in the College World Series than A&M has in their history, but yet they want to bang on you when you get knocked out when they weren't ever in the top competition. You know what I mean? So it's just one of those things. And again, if we're talking about past accomplishments, the latest thing these kids have to see is a top 5 football team. Yep. We played in the year 6 bowl. We didn't have that. So that's the culture that we have to create. And again, we're doing it in every other sport. You had a top 10 basketball team at one time. Yes, did you lose to Abilene Christian in the first round of the NCAA tournament? Yes, but you think you found a remedy for that. You brought in Chris Beard, and what has he done since he got here? But bringing top level talent, and now you're back to what people project to be a top 10 basketball team. You're doing it in baseball. You're doing it in volleyball. You're doing it in swimming. You're doing it in diving. You're doing it in tennis. You consistently wipe the floor with everybody else in all these other sports, but guess what? Your bread is buttered with football. That's what people live for, is that those 10 or 11, 12 Saturdays in the fall. But we've been there before. We've had a national championship since OU. We've had several national championships since A&M has won one. We just got to get back to consistently winning, and we're always going to get the last laugh.
Yeah, absolutely. Real quick, man, I just want to kind of tell you where in this last few minutes, I kind of want to tell you where me and Jeremy are kind of heading here with the program. We've been lucky enough to grow, and it's because of individuals that get on here with us on Mondays or Tuesdays or Thursdays, whatever case may be. And hell, we've gotten away from a lot of tape shows. We'll do tape shows. We'll do some more tape shows. As the football season gets closer, but it's because of people like you that me and Jeremy have had an opportunity to really grow. And I think we're close to like 1,800 followers on Twitter. I think currently 2,421 subscribers on YouTube, which is crazy and unheard of. I didn't think we'd ever meet that. Getting to 100 was crazy. But I can tell you that me and Jeremy did sign a contract to be on a network, a podcast network. So that's going to come to fruition. We have a meeting tomorrow, but in August, our content, from what we understand, our content is going to be pushed out to in our live shows as well. If we want them to be live, if we want them to be pushed over to a podcast, we'll just send them the audio content, but it will, Texas Football Talk is going to have a podcast on, it sounds like Spotify, Google Podcast, Apple, and all the other major podcast sites as well. But we're really appreciative that we're able to do that. Somebody reached out to us a couple of weeks ago and said, hey, would you be willing to be our Texas channel on our network? And me and Jeremy mulled over it because we didn't never want to get too media-like. This is what we love to do, is be interactive with the people that listen to us, our fans, because hell, we're fans. We're just passionate guys that want to talk about football. But we're really, really excited where this channel's going. It's because of people that like you that have helped us get to where we're at. So just want to thank y'all. Any thoughts on that, Jeremy?
Absolutely. No, absolutely. Again, we haven't really talked about, we talked about our distribution deal, haven't really known where it was going to go. So we asked those questions this week. Where exactly can we start telling folks that they can find our stuff? Audio version. Clint talked about it. We have plans to do, of course, these live shows. We have plans to do tape shows. But then again, there's going to be some shows that you're going to only find on Spotify, Apple, and Google and those other sites, because it's easier for us to do a live show, but then we would have to introduce somebody's comment, introduce them, and then go into it. So we're definitely going to continue to do these, and they're going to be on the same dates that they are. But there will also be audio only podcasts where we're just going to talk about topics, similar to this, but like Clint said, a little bit of scripted format where we're just going to be touching those things. Man, like you said, it couldn't have been done without your viewership, your support, and coming here each and every Wednesday, Sunday, Thursday, whenever you throw a curveball. The same guys are always here and they're listening to us, and we appreciate it. You bring more to the show than we do, most times with the lives, because we have a script and we'll have a couple of talking points, but you guys bring the heat and you guys bring the knowledge and you guys bring that stuff to us, and it's because of you that we're able to do it.
Yeah, and some other exciting stuff is we're going to have some guys we're doing some we've scheduled some collaborations with here over the next few weeks. So we'll get those working. One right now we have one scheduled for this upcoming week on Thursday. A little surprise there. So we don't really want to say too much because things happen and if people schedules change, whatever the case may be. But we have one I think scheduled for Thursday of this week. I'm not mistaken. At 7:00 live, we'll have someone on live, which is going to be pretty cool. So they'll it's one of these things where, you know, if you have questions, whatever the case may be, we can kind of push the questions to them and see what they can or cannot answer. But really excited, man, and excited about this growth of the channel. And I got to add a new social media thing because me and Jeremy are on TikTok. So if any of y'all have a TikTok, y'all can find us at Texas Football Talk on TikTok. We're there. You can go like the videos. You can hit the follow there. But really excited. But hey, you know, if you have any last thoughts before we get off here tonight? You know?
No, we pretty much covered it all. We're on every social media platform. Like you said, it sounds like we're going to be on every podcasting platform. We're going to continue to rock YouTube. So yeah, no, Mike, this is, and that's what we expressly asked for was our ability to continue to bring this type show to you on a weekly basis. So no, we're not going anywhere. Our YouTube channel is still going to be here. We're still going to be as active as we are. You're just going to have an opportunity to hear and listen to other shows that we're going to do on those platforms.
And we can add to that We don't know much about the because we're actually going to be moving off of Zoom to another platform, and that platform is going to allow us to be able to pick and choose questions and put them on the screen. That's one. So we're not going anywhere on YouTube. YouTube is our baby. It's always going to be our number one baby. This podcast takes very little of me and Jeremy's time. It's really just us kind of recording shows outside of the time that we do on YouTube. But there's a couple of things that we're going to be able to do with our streaming software that we're not able to do now. You know, like things scrolling, like maybe questions scrolling across the bottom of the screen, backgrounds, and some other artistic stuff that we're not able to do now on YouTube.
Facebook
Live. We'll be able to stream to multiple services at the same time and so on and so forth. So definitely not going to Mike. I'm telling you, Mike, this is our baby. YouTube is always going to be our baby because this is who Texas Football Talk is, man. It's happened. Like Jeremy said, we come with a script, but you are the ones that actually run the show. You really are. With these things, with the questions and the comments and all that stuff, that's why it's important that I go to the comments, but there's days where we want to make sure we get through the information that we want to put out. But really, really excited. I want y'all to have a wonderful rest of your week, and y'all have a good night. Hook 'em.
Hit that like button. 62 guys in here, 36 likes. Hit that like button before you leave. Hook 'em.